So today I'm broaching quite a large subject, the Second Punic War. This is truly an epic war, and it's possibly one of the coolest stories of the Roman Republic. And if someone made a show about it, like Game of Thrones, I guarantee you it would be amazing. So let's begin. Last episode we ended the First Punic War, with the Roman victory and the Carpathian humiliation. We pick up 8 years before the Second War begins. Hasdrubal of Carthage, a son of Hamilcar, made an agreement, a treaty called the Treaty of Ebro. This was an agreement between Carthage and Rome. It said that beyond the Ebro River was Rome's area of influence, the aforementioned Roman land in Spain, and on the other side is Carthage's area, the kingdom Hannibal had carved out after the First Punic War. But a small town in Spain called Saguntum had a separate agreement with Rome. So, I hear you ask, why is this important? Well, because this small town led to one of the biggest wars in ancient history, and cost Rome 1/5 of its male population. You see, one of the most important things to know about the Ebro Treaty is that we don't know which river the agreement was made about, so we don't know which side of the river Saguntum was. And guess who's back? It's Hannibal, and he disagrees with Rome existing. So he goes to lay siege in Saguntum, claiming that it is past the Ebro River, thus breaching the agreement and rightfully Carthage's. So Saguntum begged Rome for aid, but Rome was busy fighting another war in the Balkans and didn't send any help. So eventually Saguntum surrendered, and what happened next could have stopped it. An emissary from Rome stood before the Council of Carthage, asking for them to return the city and turn Hannibal over. They would hold no qualms if they fulfilled these. And he supposedly said, "Gentlemen, I hold here in the folds of my toga 2 choices, peace or war. Which shall you choose?" To which the Senate responded, "Choose as you will." And the emissary said, "I choose war." And with that, it is total war. Well, no one can really have total war, but they said they did anyway. Hannibal began writing up a plan to conquer Italy, and it is quite a plan, but we'll discuss that later. We now turn to Rome. Bolstered by their previous victory in the First Punic War, they were ready to fight. But to understand Rome, we must understand their government. The way they had their government was a dual consularship, with 2 consulars. Now, these consulars didn't just rule government, they also ran the army, on the ground fighting with the army. So one consul, Scipio, was sent with half of the army towards Spain through France, while the other consul, Sempronius Longus, was sent down to Sicily to fight a possible invasion from the sea. So, as Hannibal went towards Rome, Scipio was doing the exact opposite. They even met each other and had a skirmish with the cavalry fight. With this, Scipio knew of the invasion force and sent his army forward, but him and a few of his forces rushed back to get the garrison on the Romans' northern border ready. But these were fresh recruits, and they were not ready to fight Hannibal. Now, Scipio assumed he had time to ready his troops, since he thought the tribes in France would stop Hannibal and slow him down. But Hannibal had already bribed them, passing through without being stopped. Except for one time, but Hannibal won that easily. Scipio still thought he had time because obviously Hannibal would never attempt to cross the Alps, especially in the beginning of winter. That's just suicidal. But the greatest Chad of Carthage didn't care. He did something truly
inconceivable!
The greatest march in military history. In September of 218 BC, Hannibal crossed the Alps with tens of thousands of troops and 37 elephants. And there is a reason this march is remembered. It was over the Alps, a ginormous mountain range. There is a reason it was deemed impassable. Men froze to death or fell at the sides of the smaller mountain passes. Some simply collapsed, and their comrades had no energy to carry them any further. Even some mountain tribes rolled rocks down the mountain, crushing men and horses alike. But they made it out. Of the 98,000 he began with, only 26,000 remained. But he is now in Roman territory. So Scipio rushed to meet him with a small force he had been able to muster, and at Tenzino they fight. But the far better Numidian cavalry won the battle, and this was the exact thing Hannibal's army needed. After such a morale-damaging march, they had won a battle. It proved that they could still fight. So Sempronius heard the news and rushed up to join Scipio. He said they should go on the offensive, but Scipio, who now realizes how good Hannibal is, tries to convince him to wait out the winter and train. This is where Roman politics gets in the way. Since the 2 consulars each led half of the army, when they were together they alternated command every other day. So on Sempronius's day, he went to fight Hannibal along the river Trebia. This was the first of the great victories of Hannibal. First, he sent out his cavalry to bring the Romans over the river, which was freezing as it was winter. And while the horses were able to traverse it easily, the Romans had to wade through it from up to their necks. and then up on the other side, they prepared to fight the Carthaginians. They outnumbered them and thought they might be able to win easily. But then, elephants. These giant beasts, with snakes for mouths and spears on their faces and with castles on their back. The Romans stood no chance, and when the Carthaginian cavalry flanked them, all hope was lost. This showed Hannibal is no joke, and Rome is open for attack. And here we go again, Roman politics getting in the way. The elections for the new consulars was up soon, so Scipio and Sempronius Longus were out, and the new consuls, Gaius Flaminius and Gnaeus Flaminius Gemellus, were voted into power. So Gaius rushed after Hannibal. He raised 4 new legions to corner him, before the Carthaginians could get any further. But once again, Chad Hannibal did the unthinkable. He crossed to this lethal marshland, leading his army on an impassable route. This one was so deadly it cost Hannibal one of his eyes and many of his men. But him and his army made it through again. But Gaius followed him further, and at Lake Trasmene they were going to clash. This is where we see the brilliance of Hannibal. He set up his army along the northern side of the lake, which had hills along a small strand of land that was flat. He hid his cavalry and most of his army behind these hills, leaving the foot soldiers on the strand. So when Gaius came after him, he thought he was seeing the end of Hannibal's army, so he charges his army into the strand and into the trap. The armies clash and it looks like the Romans are winning, but then the cavalry smashes into their back, and then the main army smashes into their flanks, running down the hill, and in the end, 30,000 Romans died, and Hannibal was only just beginning. Tune in next time to see what Hannibal did next. Let me tell you, it's kind of unbelievable.